I shall lead the way. Moment of awakening. Take form. Sacred light.
Together we vanish. Feathers incinerate. My blade yearns. Feathers incinerate.
Strike is one. Evil be cleansed.
Together we vanish. Beckon the divine flame. Sever. Together we vanish.
Conception
is calling.
I stand ready.
Cross. Take form.
Sever.
Let it end.
Together we vanish. My blade yearns.
Administering first aid.
I shall lead the way. Take form.
Beckon the divine flame.
Great! Together we fight! Sacred light.
Together we vanish. Take form. Together we vanish.
Take form. Thunder guide us. Moment of awakening.
Sever.
Strike is one. Take evil be cleansed. Forgive me. Onwards. I shall lead the way. Take
Together we vanish.
Conception.
Commence healing.
take form. I shall lead the way. Take form. Embrace the change. Crosscut.
Sever!
Strike is one. Bask in starlight. Evil be cleansed.
Together we vanquish. Mind's eye. Who's the caged bird now? Sever!
Together we fight.
Together we vanquish.
Fluorescent shadows.
Together we vanquish.
Let it end.
Rejuvenating snow.
Take form. Evil be cleansed. So be it.
Together we vanquish. Perish in flames.
Strike is one. Heaven ordains. Banish all vice.
Together we beckon the divine flames. Sever! Commence healing. Embracing change.
Together we fight. Sacred light.
Together we vanquish. Feathers incendiate. Take form.
Strike is one. What? Let it end.
Together we vanquish. Who's the caged bird now?
Take form.
Embracing change. Verity shines.
Moment of awakening. Glory stars, heed my calling.
Take form. Cross cut.
Together we fight.
Sever.
The sky beckons. Evil be cleansed. Take form.
Transmitting frequency.
Take form. Ha! Fluorescent shadows. Ha! Thus it ends.
Feathers incinerate. Crosscut, sever. Guests of the unkind. Take form. Be reduced to cinders.
Strike as one. Take form. I shall lead the way. Take form. Together we fight! Our lights shine through. Sacred light.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one. Ha! Thus it ends.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight. Take form.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight. Take form.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one. Strike back.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one. Evil be cleansed. Heaven ordained. Banish all vice.
Together we vanish.
Together we fight.
Together we vanish.
Strike as one. Take form.
Commence healing. Endless reverberation.